Hello and welcome to yet another edition of the Yankees Suck podcast, brought to you by Poppy and Pat, and the fact that the Yankees refuse to suck despite our
It's
name.
amazing. I'm convinced we cursed them. Like a reverse curse. That's what happened. And I even skipped last week. I was like, they did kind of hot this week. I guess we're not gonna do a podcast because we're way too busy having fun. And then it was nothing but dubs this week. So I don't know how they do it, man. I don't know.
They're keeping the party rolling. I really am so shocked with how this season has come out. They recently just, I believe, with their last win over the Tigers, tied the seventh best record through 53 games in Yankees history. So they're clearly feeling something special this year. But before we get into the rest of this week, let's start at the beginning with the Angels, and we'll have Poppy break that one down for you.
Yeah, so they start off the week with the powerhouse, the Angels. They can strike at any time. And they've been slumping pretty hard, so I think the Yankees caught them right in the middle in that slump. Game starts off with Judge robbing basically a home run from Ohtani. I'm not sure. I didn't see the replay of where that ball would have landed, but he made a great jump near the wall. And then the next inning at the bottom of the first, Trout failed to make a similar kind of play where he was diving to his left and couldn't stop a double. That clearly shows who the better center fielder is when they're cold. I'm just saying. Trout's doing bad right now, if you guys didn't hear. He's 0 for 23 or something. As of today, he's not having a good time, man. Everyone was just...
Wasn't he in... I do apologize, but wasn't he in MVP consideration just like a week ago?
Well, he's always on the list, man. He's on the short list any day of the week, you look at his, yearly stats. I mean, he's insane, but something's not clicking for him, and I get the feeling that something is different. Something is weird. I haven't watched Trout that much this year, but he just doesn't look like himself, like his usual self. And that includes, what I said on defense. That is not the first misplay I've seen from him. So, and it's hard to call it a misplay when it's not an error, but this guy is so good. He should be vacuuming everything out there, and that it's just weird that he isn't. And it makes me think that he might be injured, but who knows? They don't like to talk about that kind of stuff, so if he is playing injured, we have no idea. I wanted to say, though, because I took a look at the numbers in that game, because it was just one of those games where everybody was hitting singles, doubles, sac flies, getting their walks. Their OPS that game was .750. That includes Trevino. That includes Gallo. Okay? I'm just putting it out there. .750.
That's crazy.
And you got Aaron Judge, pulling up, but Rizzo did really well that game. The only person that really didn't was Andujar, and he still got a hit. So, I mean, everybody just popping off this game. Judge and DJ getting huge hits with people on base. Carpenter hit a bomb. Carpenter's hitting bombs everywhere, dude. I don't know how they found this kid. We're gonna talk about him later, but that was just a big win for the Yanks, 9-1. And then the next day, they were supposed to play on Wednesday, and it got rained out. So they pushed it into a doubleheader. And it's Ohtani on the bump. He's not feeling too hot because he just went, basically hitless the last game and had a home run robbed. So he's like, okay, I'm going to knock these guys out. I'm ready, right? And Carpenter just comes in with a bomb. And Torres takes him deep. Judge takes him deep. And everybody else just getting hits off of him. Absolutely demolished the guy. He left after 3 innings. Just not a day for him, man. Just not a week for him. Ohtani, Trout do bad. The Angels fall apart. I mean, that's basically what happened here. And my boy Hicks got 3 hits that game. So, good on him. Squeezing the last productivity out of him. Yankees still not too happy, but hey, he has flashes of brilliance still. He's not a terrible hitter. Just hope he can do a little better, because he's supposed to be a glove first, outfielder. Well, that's okay. And then on the other side of the bump was Cortez, and it wasn't like his finest primo nasty outing, but he was, getting into a little bit of trouble and then getting out. Still didn't give up any runs, and Yankees win 6-1. Man, what else is there to say? Like they just demolished the Angels, and then come at night, second game of the doubleheader, slightly tighter affair. But we had a massive showing by Tyone. I don't know if you want to talk about what happened, Pat, these last 3 games, because the Yankees have just gone on a pitching streak.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you said to me at the beginning of the year that the Yankees rotation was going to be one of the best in baseball, I would have laughed right in your face. Because honestly, when you look at it on paper, it had so many question marks coming into the season. We had Garrett Cole and, the band of brothers kind of behind him, with Severino with a huge question mark around him with his injuries, Tyone being a little bit inconsistent, Nestor Cortez not even being what the hell Nestor Cortez has become, because no one saw that coming.
No, nobody saw that.
Yeah, and we, as a staff, saw 3 near no-hitters back-to-back with Tyone, Cole, and Cortez. I mean, they all just were flawless essentially on the mound, with obviously giving up their mistakes. They did not complete any no-hitters throughout the week, but he took his bid deep, him being Tyone. He took it way into the game, and he took it into the 7th inning, and unfortunately was unable to come up with it. And Cole pitches a blowout, and that boosts his confidence. And obviously Nestor Cortez, even though he had a shaky start, he still had a miraculous scoreline where his ERA, which is sub 2 at 1.5, I believe is what it is right now, it went down during that game, which is insane. And also another thing to mention about Nestor Cortez, his versatility on the mound has shown so much this year. He's making diving plays at first and picking off Shohei Ohtani on the base paths, which is crazy when you have guys like Tyler Wade going on record saying that Shohei Ohtani is faster than him. So that blows my mind. So Yankees pitching has been absolutely blowing everything out of the water. And, we have Severino also coming out with a big showing against the Tigers. I mean, I'm just so enamored by this rotation, and I never thought as a Yankee fan that I would ever say ever again the Yankees rotation is not the sore sight for eyes as we thought it would be coming into this season. They have absolutely been the best pitching staff in baseball, in my opinion, given what they've had to come up and surpass in terms of expectation and what they've done with said expectation.
Yeah, it's interesting. The only rotation that can keep up at the moment is the Houston Astros, and the Astros have a curious thing where they also have a lot of like younger starting pitchers who have been getting into really good grooves lately, on top of a veteran, right, in Justin Verlander. But I get the feeling that the Yankees bullpen is just more solidified and more ready for the challenge. So I think that as the year goes on, they're going to come out as the clear winner in that battle. And I mean, regardless of what happens, I think that those two teams have found something with their pitching that's working really well for them. Houston still holds on to the high fastball type of mentality that started, a couple years ago. And then the Yankees' whole thing now is the sinker baller, right? And they're having a lot of success, especially with Clay Holmes. We keep talking about him. And it's just amazing. I mean, 3 legit no opportunities back to back. And I mean, Severino pitched wonderfully. The hit that he gave up was off of Miguel Cabrera, the most professional hitter ever. And just, I feel like Severino is like the one guy that I'm like shocked that I did not expect him to do this well coming off of what happened. And just, I don't know. I took a quick look at the numbers, and we only have one starter that has an ERA above 3. That's Jordan Montgomery. Montgomery has a 3.04 right now. Everyone else is in the 2s. Nestor Cortez has 1.5 ERA. That's starting
crazy
pitching for the Yankees right now. They're giving up nothing. And they can come out and have stretches like this where they just dominate everybody with their pitching, and then you still have to face Judge and Stanton and Rizzo. So good luck. I mean, I don't know if there's a team in the league right now that can beat them when everything is working.
Yeah, I mean, it's been absolutely impressive to watch Luis Severino come back from all of his injuries. And this last start in particular was one that was really impressive. I mean, that one hit to Miguel Cabrera was the only sore spot on the whole day. I mean, he went 7 strong, striking out 10. I mean, that was old style Severino coming back up, and that was huge for the Yankees to see with only 1 walk as well on the day. And Severino's shown up big. And we're in June, folks, so it's not as if, these guys are still warming up. This is about right around the time we really start to see what a team is made of. And the Yankees really are starting to show that they are made to last with Severino with a 4-1 record, a 2.95 ERA, and he's already got 60 plus Ks on the year. I mean, the dude is dealing. The Yankees rotation has been absolutely flawless. I mean, those 3 no-hit bids, it was just kind of like, it felt like I was playing MLB The Show with the Yankees, and I was just on a heater, and I was watching it live. That's how crazy it felt. It almost felt like you could kind of control the outcome because you almost knew that the Yankees were going to absolutely show out. I mean, this past week, they only gave up 3 runs. 3 runs. 3 runs with every single pitcher on the entire staff, and that includes the next series that they played against the Tigers this past weekend. They, of course, have another game they got to play, so it could be a little bit more than that by the end of the week, but 3 runs coming into this is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and 2 shutouts back to back as well. And just it's so here's the thing that I want to talk about. And I thought the opposite might happen coming into this week, that they were like, oh, okay, Angels, that's an okay team, it's not the best, it's not the worst, but the Angels definitely like balloon and then they drop off, right? And they have these like surges of moments, it tends to be. And they were injured. They were having some massive injuries coming into this week. I mean, we talked about Chad Green. He's gone now. He needs surgery. Chapman's shut down for some time, even though he wasn't doing that hot. And then I don't know what happened to the rest of the guys. Like, Loaiza hurt his shoulder. Stanton missed like a week because he stepped on his ankle wrong. No one knows what happened to Stanton, by the way. And then Hicks missed some time. DJ had like a wrist injury. It felt like it's been like 2 weeks now where the Yankees weren't at complete full strength. And they're still able to go out there and win ball games like they're dominating. And a lot of that has to do with that starting pitching. The fact that they've stayed healthy and they've stayed strong, and there's not like a single eyesore in the lineup. That, your number 5 guy is supposed to be Cortez. He's your best one. So that just, having something like that, a completely well-rounded lineup, as far as starting pitching goes, not only takes the heat off your offense, it takes the heat off of everybody in that rotation. That, Cole doesn't have to feel like the world's on his shoulder. Cortez can go out there and relax, knowing that the next few games are still going to have strong showings after him. Everybody relaxes a little bit more. And it felt like all these injuries didn't even sniff the Yankees. They weren't concerned.
No, it's crazy to think about it. And we didn't even talk about the COVID-19 bug that came through as well, where Joey Gallo, Josh Donaldson, and I believe Kyle Higashioka had to take some time to sit while they were dealing with that as well. And it just didn't seem like the Yankees had anything remotely to a damaged staff. Injuries. What injuries? It did not feel like. It felt like next man up kind of mentality, and some of that may have been from the fact that Aaron Judge is just on and some of that might be because Aaron Judge is playing on an entire other fucking planet right now, and that might have just seemed kind of like, well, he's picking up for all the lost production, I should say, in the lineup, losing Donaldson, Stanton, Gallo. What am I talking about? Gallo produces nothing in the lineup. But regardless, you get my point, is that Aaron Judge, with his 21 home runs and 42 RBIs on the season, with his average now at 316, the dude is showing up and is making it look really friggin' easy behind the plate, despite the fact he has no protection in the lineup with everybody coming out every other day. So, honestly, it's really cool to watch this Yankees depth showcase itself with these injuries coming out. And it's just another testament to how good this ball club really is. To withstand adversity like this and to come out with the record that they have this past week and the weeks prior, honestly, you got to give it to them, man. Like, they are showing that they're definitely, if not the best ball club in the league, I think that they have to be in the conversation for at least top 3.
Yeah, anybody who's missing out on the Yankees now needs to wake up. And, I mean, nobody ever does. I mean, they live rent-free, and everybody said. But, I mean, they're showing they're for real this year. Unless they have a catastrophic second half, they're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to do really well in the playoffs, in my opinion, because they're built for that, and they have people who have been there before. And they just signed another veteran piece for them that's doing amazing. And I don't know how they keep doing this. I mean, with some exceptions. Gallo's a notable one. But, I mean, Donaldson seems to be a success so far. People like IKF. And now they have Matt Carpenter, who got signed. I mean, this dude came out of the Rangers minor league system. He was doing okay. He wasn't, like, great. He wasn't terrible. He was playing in AAA the whole year. And the Rangers were like, hold up. We got Seager, we got Semien. What do we need this guy for? Let's release him. And the Yankees were smart on it. They saw that. They were like, yo, you want $1 million? Come play for the Yankees. And he's hit 4 home runs so far. So, I mean, no matter which way you look, I feel like if this guy puts up, like, half that amount every week, he's already way worth his money. And he seems to be playing good defense. He's very versatile. You know, he's basically like a new Marwin Gonzalez of sorts, right? He can play in a lot of different positions, and he's just like a big surprise for me. I'm just shocked that this signing worked out so well in the immediate like future already.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Carpenter in his previous years with the Cardinals was a really talented piece. He a little bit slipped off and ended up in the Rangers minor league system with that kind of weird situation where he did get released. And yeah, the Yankees came up big on another kind of mysterious signing from Brian Cashman. And I've been talking so much shit about Brian Cashman for the past like year and a half, and I'm going to have to kind of put my foot in my own mouth here a little bit, because he really has shown up huge when it comes to this past off season. Well, really the 1 month before the season, and now this move to pick up Matt Carpenter. He's made some really amazing moves that we really should break into a little bit. You mentioned it a little bit, but that trade for IKF and Josh Donaldson, boy, are the Yankees making the Twins look so silly right now with that trade. Josh Donaldson is producing really well in this clubhouse despite the negative attention he did bring. He's still a solid guy in the lineup. IKF is becoming the shortstop we always needed last year, so that's good. And he's also a really clutch hitter for the Yankees, so you have to keep that into context. Gary Sanchez is plummeting pretty much into the depths. He's showing exactly what Yankee fans thought he would become, which is a no-show. And Gio Urshela, it's tough to, crack it in a Twins lineup. And I mean, I don't know. Like, it's just so sad to see those guys not pan out, but it's also just kind of like, Brian Cashman, you're a genius, man. And now with this signing of Matt Carpenter, his first 3 hits as a Yankee were home runs. That's crazy.
Yeah.
His first 3 hits, man, and they weren't just like, little cheap shots over the right field foul pole, which is something that a lot of left-handed hitters come to New York to do. Matt Carpenter was packing bombs. This dude knows how to swing it, and in a lineup where he's not going to be forced to play every day, where he's going to be brought in as a utility or a pinch hitter, his versatility for the Yankees is going to be unmatched if he continues to produce at this level. And it just again goes to show that Brian Cashman knows what he's doing, even though he might seem like he doesn't sometimes. He's made so many miraculously good signings. This Matt Carpenter signing, the Marwin Gonzalez signing, is looking to be one of the better signings he's ever had in a while, because of how much he brings to the clubhouse by patching up for some of those holes, especially with these injuries. In that, the first doubleheader the Yankees played this year, the single admission doubleheader, Marwin Gonzalez was playing shortstop, he was playing left field. The dude could play pretty much anywhere you put him in the field. It's crazy, and I love that about him. And it just is the kind of guy the Yankees kind of needed. But Who would have thought Marwin Gonzalez, when we signed him in the offseason for basically nothing, was going to end up being that guy? I don't think anyone did. So you got to give the credit to Brian Cashman.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing that I feel like they keep discovering angles on guys. It's like they knew Marwin was a great all-around fielder. They just needed to find a way to unlock his swing. So they went and probably did just that, And when they realized they couldn't do the same with Sanchez, they were like, okay, Sanchez is a lost piece. If I'm going to have a no-hitting catcher, I might as well trade for him and get another no-hitting catcher. It didn't work out so well because of, unfortunately the guy we got from the Twins was injured. But on top of that, we also got Donaldson and IKF. And IKF, I knew he was going to do great things on the field, but I didn't trust Donaldson so much, especially with the bat. I was not on the Donaldson bus, and so far he's proving me wrong. And he's also showing he can play excellent third base. We'll have to see how that goes as he ages, but, I also feel like third base is one of those positions that ages well as long as you can keep your reflexes. So he might be there for some time. And this new signing, man, I'm still in shock. I don't know what to say. I feel like I don't know how this guy was in the minor leagues. I mean, if you look at the Cardinals lineup now, you really think he wouldn't fit in there somewhere? It's weird. It's weird.
And 2 days ago, the Yankees actually acquired another minor leaguer with a possible, outcome for the Yankees that would be positive. They got Jake Bauers from the Reds, which is a back-up left-handed first baseman for the Yankees. So, if God forbid something happens to Anthony Rizzo, at least you got somebody behind the scenes, and it's a low-risk move for the Yankees. They didn't really give up too much, and the Reds obviously tanking. I don't know why the Reds would trade a prospect. He's not exactly notable. He was having a shaky year in AAA, but if the Yankees system can somehow turn him around, man, they just keep picking up diamonds, and it's kind of impressive to watch. But speaking of diamonds that may want to get packing and moving on, maybe we want to talk about what's going on with Miguel Andujar.
Yeah, so Andujar, he plays left field a lot in the majors. He's supposed to be a third baseman, I believe. Third baseman, first baseman, left fielder. He's got some versatility in him. And he just hasn't been getting enough playtime in his eyes. And I can understand why. Because now, you had Marwin. And then now you also have Carpenter to contend with. And he's doing really well. They don't seem intent on taking Joey Gallo out of the lineup just yet. So if everything's going on, and Andujar said, yo, I'm not getting enough playtime here. You guys should trade me. I'm not happy. And I don't blame him. I think that the kid has a lot of talent, and he needs to go show it somewhere else, unfortunately. I've seen situations like that before where ball clubs are stacked in one particular position, and they can't let their guys grow. And I feel like the correct reaction to that is always to trade him, because there's not that much they're going to learn being in AAA, Or what are you going to hold on to them for, right? You need to maximize their value. So I'm all for it. I feel that it, I like that he's asking for it. Honestly, I like that he's being, to me, that's being communicative, that's being smart about it and being like, okay, I'm still here, guys. If I'm not going to play, can you move me, and understanding that this is how the market works. And, yeah.
I agree and disagree in some instances. Well, for one, I definitely agree with the notion that Miguel Andujar deserves to get a fair crack at it. Because if you go back in the history with Miguel Andujar, he pops up in that rookie season. He shows up as a guy for patching the hole at third base for the Yankees, has an absolutely star-studded rookie year, was in conversation for Rookie of the Year, was honestly kicking ass and taking names. The next year, the Yankees go out and get Gio Urshela to replace him basically at third base because of his subsequently suspect defense. Because he wasn't really good with the glove in the hot hole, which it's a tough position to play if you haven't grown up playing third base, which I'm not sure if Andujar was a natural third baseman or not, but he was able to patch it in terms of the Yankees lineup. So he stuck around for a while. And then Andujar goes to the minors and then ends up coming back up as an outfielder. And honestly, I kind of don't blame him, considering when you look at the stats, you see Joey Gallo is batting sub Mendoza line, sub 180. He only has 23 hits on the year, while Andujar has 11 in a fourth of the games. So, honestly, I've respected Andujar for wanting to have an opportunity to play, you know, every day, to be able to play, with a reasonable amount of time, especially with Joey Gallo stinking up the clubhouse and having to watch that. But it's also, it might have not come out the right way at this time. Your team is rolling. Your team is completely, doing absolutely everything it should be doing right now. And then this is the one negative storyline that comes out of this week, and it draws all the attention onto you. And for me, I don't know whether it's that Aaron Boone should have just kept this quiet after Miguel Andujar said after the game, because apparently this happened right after, I think, the Yankees won. I think it was after their 13-0 victory. I could be mistaken. Either way, it was after a victory this week, because the Yankees won every single fucking game this week. So, and regardless of what day it goes in, Miguel Andujar goes into the clubhouse and he asks Aaron Boone for a trade. It feels like I understand it. It makes sense on paper, but it just feels like, why are you asking for it right now? I mean, would you rather go play for the Reds and lose every game? I mean, I get it in some instances. Like, you want to be able to play. Of course, when you get to the major leagues and you're an athlete, you want to play every day. You want to compete. But it's just weird to be on such a special club and to ask to want to dip. Like, I don't know. Like, it's not a storyline you see very often with very, positive clubhouses.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something else going on here with Miguel Andujar.
I
don't
feel
know
like
what
it's
it is.
definitely, so my thinking on this is that it's definitely frustration on the fact that he thought he would get, he thought he had holes to work with, right? That he would be put in those holes and be a serviceable piece for the lineup. And instead of looking to him, the Yankees keep hiring people to fill those holes instead. And that's been happening since last year, right? With Gallo, what we're talking about. So I feel like the Yankees aren't valuing him as much as he values himself. That might be thing number one. And then on top of that, it's kind of been a weird road for him. And he might be done with trying to flirt with the minor leagues, and he just wants to play in the majors for whoever it may be and maybe prove himself in that way. I don't know. I'm not in his head, but just a few things that have been going on around him. I feel like when you're supposed to be Joey Gallo's replacement and Joey Gallo is batting below the Mendoza line, I think like you have an argument. No, it's
a very valid argument.
Yeah, I wanted to point out that just Boone has a funny way of talking to the media, and this might have been one of his slip-ups that just, not the kind of thing you tell. I don't know. Thought it was weird.
I would definitely agree with you on that. I think it's a little out of character for Aaron Boone, too, so I think some of the blame kind of has to be put on him, because it's like, okay, Andujar comes in your clubhouse and asks that. That's great. Your team just won every single fucking game this week. Why are we talking about Andujar wanting to leave? Like, I get it. It sucks. But this is kind of a hush-hush kind of thing. This would be something that I would think that, like, we would hear from an inside source, from, like, a guy like Adam Schefter, like, dropping it on Twitter, like, Aaron Andujar and rumors of him wanting to leave have become, prevalent and real. Like, that's the storyline that I would have expected to come out. Not that Aaron Boone would walk up to the media and be like, yeah, Andujar's trying to go. He's trying to pack his bags and dip. And, like, I completely understand it. It makes complete sense why Andujar would be pissed, why he would want to leave, and why, as a respectable guy, why he wouldn't want to get a crack at a different club where he could definitely make it as a everyday player. He could probably play 140 to 150 games with another club, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him. It's just so weird how this storyline came out, and it's like the one negative thing that happened this week, other than all the injuries that we somehow flipped into positives, and now we have Andujar just kind of like not happy with his role, which is respectable, but I just think that it was handled in such a weird way. And you're right, Aaron Boone isn't necessarily the best with the media. So he had
He's funny.
possibly a slip
Yeah,
up.
he's funny. He just like he's either totally secretive or he's totally open. And because he can be secretive at times, you don't know that when he's being open, he's telling you the whole complete story. But he brings in, so he talks with a very genuine quality, right? But at the same time, I feel like there's people whispering in his ear, like, yo, you can't say this, you can't say that, let's not talk about this. And it kind of like crosses up his brain or something. I don't know. That's my take on it.
It very well might, because I mean the Yankees would definitely be the organization that would be whispering in the ear of their manager. I mean that's kind of always been their thing. So to see the Steinbrenner kids doing what their dad used to do, I would definitely not. I would definitely not think that that's not what's happening. I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean like it's definitely tough, but it's hard to also because with Miguel Andujar, it's kind of like you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you. But speaking of biting the hand that feeds you, Max Scherzer's hand was bit by a dog this week, so
That's
at
new.
least we're not dealing with that problem.
Oh my god.
Well, apparently he's gonna be okay. He's what he's saying. It was his non-pitching hand, but I just think that it's kind of funny to think about how both New York clubs are absolutely raking in baseball right now. But it seems like the Mets are doing very Met things, and that train I'm afraid is going to fall off soon for the Mets, especially with their pitching staff.
The Mets are an interesting case. I want to see them succeed, but purely because I feel like they're not like they're a fluke. They're kind of like what the Giants were in that season, like last season. They were not supposed to get that many wins, but they might get there. Who knows? Baseball's a weird game, man. It's not, the complete package and being clutch go such a long way in baseball, I feel. And you can have statistical anomalies like that. So I'm excited for the Mets. Like I said, I want them to prove their concept that they can just, basically dominate the world with defense and pitching. And we'll see.
Yeah, and I think that they're doing somewhat that. I mean, they're 8.5 up in their division, and they definitely could keep that rolling for them, especially with the division kind of acting pretty subpar for the rest of the teams.
Well, isn't that the real problem? Yeah, the Braves are back to being the Braves, and everybody else has not even sniffing it.
Yeah, and former Yankees manager Joe Girardi, unfortunately, was fired this past week from the Phillies.
Yep.
So we'll see whether or not he gets another job in baseball. I don't see that happening. I honestly think he's going back to broadcasting, if not just retiring from baseball for a little while. So I don't see him getting any cracks with any clubs, especially after how bad the Phillies were at the beginning of this year. I don't know who would want Joe Girardi after that, and it's tough because I have a lot of respect for Joe Girardi, but that was one of the rougher ways to watch him go out. But yeah, I mean, New York baseball has been absolutely dominating this year. I mean, both teams with plus 35 wins already on the year with under 20 losses, and I think that there are no other clubs other than the Dodgers that meet that criteria right now. The Astros are literally one win away from meeting that criteria as well. So, it's a pretty prestigious club to be in. And it's going to be interesting to see what these two teams do come trade deadline, especially the Mets with their rotation problems. But I'd be interested to see whether or not the Yankees pick up another piece for their bullpen or even for their lineup that could make this team just go absolutely bananas with their already 101 run differential against ball clubs. It's insane.
The Yankees are going to make some sort of move, and I still think that it's going to be concentrated around the outfield, and we'll just have to see what that move is.
Yeah, they'll probably pick up some sort of center field piece towards the end of the year because that is kind of the only real question mark in the lineup. Trevino's kind of showing up a little bit behind the plate, so the Yankees are pretty happy about that production.
Well, yeah, the reason I say that is just because now you have Donaldson and IKF solving your issue on the left-hand side, right? That was the whole point of that trade. And you got a shit ton of guys that can play second base. And you got Rizzo, who's doing great. So you're not touching any of that.
Yeah, your infield's fine. You don't need anything to do with your infield. You definitely need, if you're going to upgrade anywhere, it's a center fielder. And it's just, for me, I just don't know who is that center fielder the Yankees go out and get. You know, part of me wants to think that the Arizona Diamondbacks will be selling Ketel Marte. I don't see that actually happening though, but that would be a dream if that could happen. But does he even still play there?
No,
Oh no, he does. He does, but he plays second base now.
Yeah,
So that's
that
another
sounds right
versatile
to
thing.
me, actually. It
Yeah,
would
so
be funny to see a Astros Yankees deal. It would be hilarious, actually, because the Astros have their main center fielder injured since last season. It was like one of the things that happened to them in the postseason. But their replacements haven't been doing so shabby, and one of them is like crazy good on defense. So if you want like a defense first center fielder, maybe the Astros are selling. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but if I know anything about the Yankees in terms of what they look for at the deadline, they never go for really any defense first kind of prospect, unfortunately, even though it would be helpful at times. But they always go for the flashy guy at the
Yeah,
deadline.
that's fair.
It's just always been their MO, even if they don't necessarily mean it. Like, I mean, I go back in history and I think about like Pudge Rodriguez and Ichiro and just like all these flashy guys that, I mean, Ichiro was definitely a really good defensive outfielder and was awesome, but he was definitely a flashy guy at the deadline for the Yankees to pick up. So if anything, I could see like the Yankees picking up some sort of big name at the deadline that goes on, but I really don't see any team in the American League trying to give anything to the Yankees to upgrade. But maybe one of these teams that's selling at the deadline might give away some center fielder
Yeah.
that the Yankees could make something out. And even if they picked up a corner outfielder and moved Judge to center, that's something that they could definitely do. I mean, he's shown that he can play it by robbing Shohei Ohtani this past week of a home run.
Yeah, and I still believe he can play it. I feel like the main weakness he has in that position is like jump time, his reaction, and that improves the more you get familiar with your surroundings and with what's happening to the baseball. So, especially
Yeah.
in his home ballpark, I can definitely see that happening. Um, it's so you're telling me that they're trading for Trout. That's what you're telling me. Trout's gonna slump so hard, his average is gonna go to the 220s, and then they're gonna be like, "Yo, trade me this guy. He's not worth his contract anymore."
Oh my God! If they traded for Mike Trout, I would lose my mind. Not because I mean, like that would be on paper the most insane outfield. I mean, you look at it: Giancarlo Stanton, Mike Trout, and Aaron Judge. I
Yeah.
mean, that's insane. But then you think about how much money all three of them are going to make next year, and you're just like, my God, why do we do this? Because that's got to be net worth close to $1 billion over time. That's in $1 billion outfield.
It's up
like
there.
that's crazy. So I don't see the Yankees doing that, although that would be really cool. But if they went and got Mike Trout, obviously it'd be out of this
But
world.
isn't it gonna be a bit of a weird litmus test though? That like, the more recent MO for them has been to be the risk adverse option, right? Dropping lower money on guys that you feel can still make a difference. Kind of like a Moneyball type of thing, right? The Carpenter signing is like that.
No,
I even
absolutely.
feel like the Donaldson IKF and the Gallo and the Rizzo were like that, and Rizzo panned out incredibly well. And just they might not play with the big money anymore, and Judge not getting his automatic, extension might be part of that. And I don't know. It's a funny place, and this mid-season trade deadline might be the thing that finally gives us a good idea of how they're operating now, right? And
I mean, there's no loyalty in this game, as Anthony Rizzo said at the beginning of the year. I mean, there's definitely truth in that. But the Yankees have been doing a little bit more of Moneyball type tactics, like you said, with these signings of guys that aren't necessarily highly noted prospects, but they've had a longer career, but they see some value in them. They throw a little bit of money at them, and they make them into something that they needed in the team, and they become role type players. And you gotta love that the Yankees have that ability to go into the free agent market and find that type of diamond in the rough and turn it into something that ends up being kind of prosperous in the lineup and turns it into a product. And Anthony Rizzo, that one in particular, was really awesome for the Yankees because there were so many tempting guys on the market when it came to first base. Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson, just to name a couple. And the Yankees could have spent big money on one of those guys. And honestly, if they went and got out Freddie Freeman, I don't know any Yankee fan that would have been upset. But they spent less money. They kept Anthony Rizzo, and Anthony Rizzo has shown out this year as being a solid defensive first baseman consistently, and he has proven that he really is one of the better first basemen in the league. And on top of that, he's a power left-handed bat, so he's everything a Yankee fan could dream of in terms of a first baseman. So, I mean, I'm very impressed with the Yankees front office right now. I did not think I would be coming into this moment at all. When you told me at the beginning of the year that in June I'd be very happy with Brian Cashman, I would have probably laughed in your face. So I'm just very happy with the way that things have turned out, and hopefully these trades and these signings are going to end up continuing to pan out, and hopefully they make a good move at the deadline and make us change our name.
I mean, listen, you got rid of Gary Sanchez. I feel like that's a win in and of itself. So whatever happens the rest of this year in terms of trades is a bonus.
No, it's true. Gary Sanchez was very cancerous for the lineup.
And I'm shocked the Twins picked him up, and they picked up Correa, and neither of those guys are panning out to the level that they wanted them to.
Yeah, that's the risk you play when you play with big time money.
Yeah,
and they played with fire with Carlos Correa, and I mean, if Correa's not happy after this year, I mean, this dude could opt out. So it's not like, I mean, the Twins definitely have a smaller window than a lot of teams do because of the way that they played this offseason, and especially with the fact that, like, Gary Sanchez was a trending downward player and Gio was somewhat trending downward.
Yeah.
And they picked up these guys hoping to swing them around and have Carlos Correa in the lineup, and he's just not been what they've wanted at all. So it's just tough, man. And honestly, like, for the Twins, I do wish them success. I do wish Gary Sanchez success, even though he was a little bit of a hard guy to watch bat every night, and considering he would strike out 3 to 4 times and or hit the one home run he hit that week. And it was just tough. But, at the end of the day, I hope the Twins do figure it out. But it'd be tough to see them do that with the moves that they did make.
Yeah. I was just looking at Correa's stats, actually, and he's on the mark for batting average, but he's way low on slugging. He's only got 3 home runs so far.
The injury bug got to him early.
Honestly. Yeah, no, I heard about that too, but yeah, maybe he can get in the groove. We'll see. But the other two, man, I mean, that was just a 40 chess for the Yankees. And you know what else happened this week that was 40 chess? The Tigers pitcher was tipping his pitches. That was a hard sentence to say. The Tiger pitcher was tipping his pitches.
The Tiger pitcher was tipping his pitches. That's a tongue twister right there.
Yeah, it is. There's this new call up from the Tigers. Tigers have a lot of young talent this year. His name is Elvin Rodriguez. Elvin Rodriguez, when he pitches, he looks a little bit longer to third base when he is throwing his fastball. And the Yankees caught on to that fact pretty early. I don't know who did it, but they figured it out. And they were like, okay, let's sit fastball. And it was consistent. So they were able to sit on some good heaters in the middle of the zone because he got behind on the count, on the breaking stuff. And they just fucking demolished him. So talk about, like, being smart as a ball club, huh?
Seriously, I mean, that's... You gotta love that kind of mentality when it comes to baseball. And that's the human aspect that I get afraid of losing when we talk about adding technology into the game, because it's things like that like, I just don't know if you would still get the same kind of tips, considering people would be interacting a little bit differently. But the fact that the Yankees were able to read the pitcher and come up with a plan of attack, and it worked, you got to give them all the credit. It's definitely got to be awesome to watch that. And, give credit for the Yankees, for Aaron Boone also, for just the point blank saying, like, this is what we did. And it was probably in an effort to make sure that no one was like, I swear there was no technology involved. No cameras. But like, genuinely, if the guy's gonna do that, I mean, shit. if somebody's gonna give you cake, you might as well eat it.
Yeah, I mean, they were given the edge basically, and that is completely legal, obviously. Not like what the Astros did, and it just goes to show the power you have when you know the pitch that's coming, right? Just like how the Astros scored 11 runs in Game 5.
Yeah, it'd be one thing if they couldn't catch up to the fastball after knowing what was coming, but clearly the guy's fastball wasn't something that they hadn't seen before. It's something I probably couldn't hit, but that's why I'm talking about it as opposed to swinging the bat.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they knew what was coming. They sat on it. They made it happen, and you got to give them all the credit for that. It's tough when you're on the other side of it. It feels really shitty when your pitcher's tipping pitches and you know it too. It's definitely one of the more frustrating things because it's so habitual and it's so hard to break once you are doing it. And then once you start to kind of get yourself out of that groove, you mess up at one other part and you got to adjust to something else. And then it just becomes a whole mind game, and it's like a whole way of getting in the pitcher's head. Without actually, taunting him or anything. If you can, read your pitcher psychologically without even literally saying anything, it's a whole mind fuck right there, honestly, as a pitcher. I don't know if I'd be able to adjust in mid-inning and do something like that. I mean, it's definitely got to be one of the more challenging things, so kudos to the Yankees for picking up on it.
Yeah, mid-inning is almost impossible without messing up some other part of your delivery. That's that's like the number one thing they work on with you, and clearly the Tigers were not able to pick that up when he was in his minor league stint, and so it's unfortunate. But Yanks benefit. Do you want to guess, Pat, who the player of the week is? Someone you know.
Someone I know. Oh man. Tim LeCastro? No, I'm just kidding.
No.
I'm gonna say Shohei Ohtani. No, it's probably Aaron Judge.
Oh my God! See, I knew you were gonna go with Judge, and it's not Judge, and I'll tell you why. It's Jose Trevino.
What?
Jose Trevino played in 4 games this week. He had 7 hits. He had 3 extra base hits. He had a triple. He had 2 homers. He walked once. His OPS is 2.031 this week.
Holy mother of mackerel. What?
So, needless to say, he's found his hot streak. I don't feel like, all respects to him. I love Trevino. He's showing up great as a catcher, but this kind of production is not sustainable for him. I'm just really happy he had this kind of week. It must feel really good, especially with the 2 bombs. I mean, it's always awesome, especially for a player that doesn't go deep with regularity to show his power. Really cool.
Yeah, and it's really cool to give it to Trevino, especially with the storyline that came through with the week. Unfortunately, we missed last week where he was able to get the walk-off hit in the 11th inning on his father's birthday. When him as a kid, when he would go in the backyard with his dad and they would play scenarios in the backyard, and his dad would look at him and go, all right, it's 1st and 3rd, 2 outs in Yankee Stadium. That was their thing as kids. For him as a kid, and for him to grow up, end up playing for the New York Yankees, and then doing exactly what his father had him prepare for his entire life situationally in real life. It's just such a cool story for Jose Trevino, and ever since then, the dude has been absolutely raking at the plate. Like you mentioned, his OPS is through the roof. The dude, since that game against the Baltimore Orioles, back on the 24th of May, dude has gotten, let me do some quick math here. I think that's 7 hits. Yeah, 7 hits. That's crazy. So you got to give him so much credit for that. 5 RBIs included with that, and he's got 2 dingers in those 7 hits. And you mentioned the 1 triple from before. So, I mean, Trevino has finally found a hot spot. And it's really cool to see a story like that for the Yankees. It was really cool to watch Aaron Judge and the rest of the clubhouse. Some of the clubhouse actually left, but I think it was Anthony Rizzo and Aaron Judge, who have both been kind of the pseudo-captains of this clubhouse, like really kind of their leaders. We're watching as Trevino had his post-game talk about what was going through his head as he hit that ball, and I believe he was yelling out, I think like Papa or Poppy or something of that nature as he was rounding the bases.
He was yelling Poppy? Damn.
Yeah, like because he knew, like his dad was watching him in that moment, and it's just like that's
awesome.
Like that kind of stuff gives you chills as a sports fan, no matter if you're a Yankee fan or not. To have that kind of moment, especially when you did that so much as a kid, and then to grow up and to literally do it. I mean, that storyline's cool. So honestly, you're right. It's probably not going to stick around. Trevino's not going to be a consistently nasty hitter. He's batting at a 289 clip. I don't see that, staying as is for as long as we would hope. But hopefully he continues in the right direction and maybe earns another Player of the Week mention at some point.
Yeah, it's not impossible. And I feel like between the two right now, I feel like he's already the favorite between him and Higashioka, and it's interesting what's gonna happen with Katra. I mean, the Rodvert's gonna come back; he's gonna be a thing at some point. So you can't hold on to three. That's just a waste of a lineup, and either Higgy or him are gonna get dropped, and I feel like Higgy is looking the more likely candidate right now. We'll see if they're just going to stick him in AAA or if they have to move him.
Yeah, and it's tough with Higashioka. Obviously, he's the most tenured Yankee on the clubhouse as he was brought in as a free agent back in 2008. So it's been a long run with Higgy. He's definitely one of the more fan favorite guys.
Yeah.
And so it'd be tough to see Higgy not be able to play in this lineup. But if Trevino is going to continue to hit at this pace, it's going to be hard for Higgy to make a argument to stay in the lineup. And that's another position the Yankees might try to upgrade at the deadline is catcher, depending on what teams are selling catchers. I think that it would really depend on whether or not the Royals or the Cubs become sellers at the deadline and whether Salvador Perez and or Wilson Contreras become guys that the Yankees could look at in terms of tradability. But we'll see. I mean, personally, I hope that Trevino and Higgy just keep going at the pace that they're going. Obviously, if it ain't broke, don't fix it for the Yankees, considering that they have 38 wins at this time, and if they win 2 more, they've won 40 games before they've lost 20, which is insane. Their winning percentage is at .717, and we're in fucking June.
And they face the Tigers.
They're playing the Tigers. So
they're playing the Tigers today. I suppose that the rest of the week is actually the Twins and the Cubs, which are still, not the top of the flight in terms of teams. So they have a good chance here.
I mean, they could keep it rolling to, if they have another really good week, they would keep this winning streak rolling, which would be awesome. They're currently on a 5-game tear with the 5 wins they picked up this week. So let's see if they keep it rolling today.
All right, I love it. So in terms of worst player of the week, I was thinking about giving it to Gallo again, but I don't feel like he deserves it this week. I mean, he's done okay. He's got 3 hits. He got a double on his belt. I mean, scored some runs. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. So I'm not giving it to anybody because all of our hitters did well. The pitching is still amazing. I guess I'll give it to Chad Green for getting injured. I
don't know. Honestly though, who do you give it to this week? It's very tough. In a week we gave up 3 runs, 5 wins. Most of those wins were absolutely, just completely dominating. They had a 13-0 win, a 9-1 win, and a 6-1 win. So it's really hard to really kind of say anything bad about this club. They still haven't given up a run to the Tigers in this series. So, so it's really hard to give it to anybody on the team other than maybe Joey Gallo, but he even did pretty well this week.
Nobody did bad. I can't say the pitching did bad when, they only scored 3 runs on him in a week. So,
yeah.
Everybody's just doing their job. It's all cylinders right now, man. I heard a funny story actually yesterday about DJ LeMahieu. Apparently, during the pandemic, bought his alma mater's baseball field because they were planning to get rid of it. And this is high school, by the way. He went to high school in a suburban area of Detroit. He bought it from them, basically, gave them money to keep it going and get it to a level where, they could have the stadium be in a good shape without having to spend money on it. And then he went like, okay, I'll lease it back to you for $1. So it's mine. It's on my, business portfolio, but I'll rent it to you for $1. That's how nice of a guy he is. And this story only came out recently because he was so hush-hush about it that he didn't want anybody finding out. He didn't want any press from it. He just wanted to do something for his high school. That was his pure objective with this. And I just find it so cool that first of all, he did that for them, with the money he was able to get from, the success that he brought after playing there. And then on top of that, not making it a big deal, like having a media press conference or, telling all his friends in the newspapers that he was, oh, look, I'm such a nice guy. He just did it. He just did it because he's got a great heart. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, how do you not love a story like that? I mean, DJ LeMahieu has always been kind of a flying under the radar kind of guy, but at the same time, he's always kind of shown he's got a big heart, and you gotta love that for the Yankees. He's been a fan favorite ever since he joined the ball club, and the fact that he kept his hush-hush is just another reason why he's one of the more infamous guys for the Yankees, just because he doesn't want the attention. He did it simply because he knew it was the right thing to do. He wanted to continue the tradition of baseball through his high school, which is where he got probably some of the spark and love for the game that he got there. He wanted to have the same players get that same spark. So gotta give him credit for that. I think that's pretty admirable on his behalf to be able to do that for his high school. And damn, DJ LeMahieu, I love that guy. I mean, It's hard to not love that guy. I mean, he almost kept the Yankees in 2019 against the motherfucking Houston Astros in that series. And the only reason I say that is because of the ALCS, although I'm not one of those Yankee fans that literally sits here and hates the Astros until the day I die. Just when I talk about 2019 and 2017 is when I say my hatred. But
yeah, I think your phone's buzzing.
My phone? Oh, ha 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 ha! That's so funny.
It's a slider. It's a slider.
Oh man! Immediate text. Oh man! Altuve shit's a slider. Even though I even knew that was a goddamn slider. Chapman threw 3 sliders in a row.
No, let's be real. The whole stadium knew that was a slider.
Yeah, everyone knew what was coming. I think that every viewer who was watching that, I was like, if Chapman throws another fucking slider right here, I'm gonna lose my mind. And then he did. So he didn't need a fucking buzzer. He didn't need anything. I could have hit that home run off of Chapman, and that's me saying something because I probably could never hit a home run off of Chapman. But I knew what pitch was coming. But regardless, neither here nor there. But still a really cool story. And if you live under a rock or missed that series, DJ LeMahieu hit a home run in the top of the ninth to keep the Yankees in the game. And then Jose Altuve hit that home run against Chapman in the next inning to send the Astros to the 2019 World Series. Which was a bittersweet moment. But at the same time, I mean, the Yankees definitely needed different. They weren't even supposed to really be there in 2019. So honestly, I'm not that upset about that. I don't, that doesn't live rent free in my head anymore as it used to. I'm just hoping for the Yankees that they can turn around things this year. They feel like they have a clubhouse that actually could make a run in the postseason, and DJ LeMahieu is definitely a key part of that. And his heart and dedication to the game is just, showing in full strength with this story and the fact that he's on one of the best ball clubs in the league, and he could literally play wherever you put him in the infield, and he's just as versatile and talented in any position.
Yep. I love the man. The machine has a heart, man. He's real. And I feel like he's one of those key pieces that keeps the ball club so happy and outgoing and free-flowing, and along with the guy we keep talking about, Mr. Judge, and we'll see what happens to him. But as far as like postseason this year, I think it would be a bit different if the Yankees completely dominate the regular season, and then they lose in the DS or the CS, especially to the Astros or to the Blue Jays or the Red Sox or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely hear you on that.
It's gonna be interesting to see, how New York feels that day, because I mean they might just go all the way, and that's the other thing. It's we could realistically see a Yankees Mets World Series this year, which is funny.
Yeah, I think that that's also really cool. When you think about the fact that that's a big possibility, I think this is the first time since I can't remember the last year that it was, but it was a long time ago. But it's the first time that the Yankees and Mets had the best records in both the American National League coming into June in at least, I think, 20 years. So that's a really cool stat to be kept in hand. But, if the playoffs were to start today, this is the thing about the Yankees. They're the number one team in the American League. But the teams in the wild card game are both interdivision. It's Toronto and Tampa Bay right now. And obviously, it's very early to be talking about stuff like this. But if you think about it, the Yankees come into the postseason in the divisional series, and they got to play one of their interdivision rivals in the divisional series. It's not so easy. It's not so much of a cakewalk as some Yankee fans might think, because that's going to be a hell of a series if they play Toronto or Tampa Bay. And if they lose to Toronto or Tampa Bay, it goes right into the same notion that you're talking about, that it looks just as much of a failure as it did look as a success. And especially if it's Houston or if it's the Twins. Especially if it's the fucking Twins, considering the Twins, I don't think have won a playoff game since 2004.
Can you imagine?
If they lost to the Twins, man, oh my God. Oh my God. The riots that would happen in the Bronx would be insane. I would definitely move out of the borough temporarily for at least a week. Just because of how dangerous it would be to live here if we lost to the fucking Twins. But honestly, it's not going to be so easy, especially if those two teams, which, by the way, the Blue Jays and the Tampa Bay Rays both have a better record than the Minnesota Twins, who are the leaders in the Central Division, up by 4.5 games on the Guardians. So that just goes to show how good the American League East is, but the Yankees still have a 6.5 game lead, which just shows how freaking good the Yankees are right now. But again, this could all mean nothing come the postseason if the fucking Blue Jays win the divisional series against the Yankees. Could be sitting and crying like this in October.
Are you still scared of Vladdy Jr.?
Oh, absolutely. I think that dude, that night which he had against Garrett Cole, which I got to be witness of, was really cool. It was redeemed later as I got to see Anthony Rizzo also hit 3 home runs for the Yankees against the Orioles later that month. But Vladdy Jr.'s swing is just absolutely deadly. I mean, he learned from one of the best in his dad, so yeah, it's kind of hard. I mean, they have very different mechanics in terms of how they swing, but Vladdy Jr. just has an ability to eat at the plate like nobody else can sometimes, and the fact that he can do it against guys like Garrett Cole is just another reason why he is so versatile. He's also so competitive, and I love that about him. I love that he treats every game like it's almost like Game 7 of a series, and that he wants to win every single night he's out there. So he scares the shit out of me, honestly. What really scares me, though, about the Blue Jays is the fact that the Yankees struggle against them for some reason, and it's almost like a mental thing sometimes against them. I think that that's the team that gives the Yankees fits inside of the division the most right now, which is not what I thought I would say at the beginning of the year, but definitely seems to be the case with the Yankees. When they beat the Blue Jays, it's usually in a really, tough game. Obviously, they did have that 2 out of 3 that they took away from the Blue Jays back in May, and the Yankees obviously had a sweep of them as well. But it's just going to be really interesting to see how these two teams play out for the rest of the year, because at the beginning of the year, the Yankees did have fits against the Blue Jays, and we'll see if they can continue in that stretch. Honestly, I just hope the Yankees keep rolling all the way to the World Series, but it's going to be a tough road.
Yeah, well, before we get to the big boys, because we got the Rays, Blue Jays, and the Astros coming up, we do have to get through the rest of this week. And this week, we're facing the Twins away. We're facing the Cubs at home. I'm going to be bullish this week again. I mean, there's no reason why they shouldn't keep winning. They're going to have Cortez and Cole pitch on the road against the tougher team here, which is the Twins. I mean, it's a dub. If they lose a game to the Twins and they sweep the Cubs, that's probably what I would expect from them.
Yeah, I was gonna say 5 out of 6. I actually don't think they lose on the road. I think they lose one of these games against the Cubs. A weekend series coming back into New York. I mean, they've been absolutely dominant at home. They're 22-7 at home. They struggle a little bit on the road, I guess, if you could call it struggling. If they're 16-8, which is not really struggling at all. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see. But I think that they have better matchups against the Twins. But we'll see whether or not I'm right or you're right. Which series they do lose this game. But I agree with you that they go 5-1. Whether it's a loss against the Cubs or the Twins, we'll see. I think it's the Cubs. You got the Twins. We'll see who comes out victorious.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good week overall, and then we're gonna have some treats the end of this month. I might have to take the train to the Yankee Stadium myself to see some of these games. So we'll just see what happens.
Well, you let me know and I'll be there, and we'll do the podcast straight from the from the grandstands at Yankee Stadium.
Can you imagine? That would be cool. That's not a podcast at that point. That's a live stream.
Yeah, I mean that would be pretty cool. Get some Yankee fans to come on as guests. I'm sure that we'd get some pretty fun drunk Yankee fans. That'd be a good time.
Are you saying I should bring my microphone? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I think we absolutely should. And I think that we should just like open up a stand right next to where they have burger, shakes, and fries, and just sit right there and just have like that. We probably should change the name of the podcast by then because we'll probably get our ass kicked if we have a Yankees suck banner. But but we'll see what we do. We'll see.
Yeah, wrong name, man. It's all good.
But the name has been, like you said at the beginning of the show, they're jinx in the reverse sense.
Like if we switch the name, then the Yankees will fall apart.
Yeah, I know. Like they'll start being the frickin' Reds, and we don't need that.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up, Pat. This was a great one. We're gonna catch you next week here on the Yankees Suck podcast. They're probably not gonna suck, but that's okay because we still talk about them anyways.
Sounds like a plan. See you guys next week. Enjoy the baseball and safe travels wherever you're heading out to for your week. And let's go Yankees.
Let's go Yankees.